question is, can you take a little sports car like this Alpine A110 on a 5-day road trip across 3 countries in Europe? This bag can go on the floor. Backpack as well, which sits nicely here. If you travel alone, it's actually not too bad. Everything will fit. Snug. Ta-da! Perfect. Now we're good to go. Look at this view. Woo. Okay guys, so you join me in the southern border of Germany. I'm in a little town, I guess, called Hohenschwangau or something. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And it's absolutely beautiful. There's one thing though, I must say that I think there are way too many tourists over here. So we are gonna leave this place, even though it's very beautiful, and we will head down to Austria, go all the way across, and then go to Italy, where I'll be testing the car mainly in Italy. The final destination being the Dolomites. Oh crap. So first things first, we are in the car known as the Alpine A110, a car with heritage. So this car has some rally history. They decided to bring back the name in this new form in a very interesting package. So first of all, it is extremely lightweight, about 1,000 kilos, and it's mid-engined. And I guess that's all you need to know. A lightweight mid-engined little sports car, which, as I just demonstrated, is able to hold all your luggage to go on a multiple day road trip. But there are a few things about this car that made me unsure, because even though the recipe itself sounds quite exciting, there are just a few things that I feel like is nagging me, and those are the fact that this car only comes in an automatic transmission, even though it's a dual clutch. Before I've driven the car, I kind of wish that this would come with a manual, because every sports car just must be a manual, right? Well, I guess we'll find out. But the other thing about this car is the fact that this engine is turbocharged. This engine is actually shared with the Renault Clio RS, I believe, and I drove that car in the Nürburgring last year when I did my road trip in the M3 Touring, and I have to say I actually enjoyed that engine quite a bit. But ideally, the perfect sports car, in my opinion, should be NA and manual. But those are the two things that I wasn't sure would be a deal breaker for this car. So what are my first impressions of driving this car? Well, the first thing that positively shocked me was how good this ride is. And I knew before driving this car, I knew that this car would have a very good ride, because famously Gordon Murray, godfather of sports cars, wanted his team to drive the Alpine A110 when they were developing the new T50, and he told them, make the car feel like this on the road. And I totally understand what he is saying, because this car, when you drive it, it feels so light-footed. It almost feels like if you are a runner, it feels like you are wearing the lightest and the most comfortable shoes. There is no weight. It just feels like it glides over all the imperfections. Unlike modern sports cars, where I feel like most of them are overly sprung, Let's take the 992 GT3 for example. That car, although immensely capable, it feels just a little bit too stiff on the road. The way that the chassis handles bumps is just so comfortable, like no other modern sports car that I've driven. It has like this 80s suppleness to it, which you just can't find in modern cars. And one thing that I do want to point out is the brakes. The brakes on this car is actually one of the easiest cars to do left foot braking in. So I don't know if you can see right now, I am actually left foot braking. Look at this. It's one of the easiest cars to left foot brake in. And there's two main reasons that make it so. So the first reason is the pedal position itself. When I'm using my left foot to brake, I don't feel like I'm playing twisters. It feels very natural. I don't have to twist my hip or anything like that. I could just lift my foot from the resting pedal and easily place it on the brake pedal, and once I'm done braking, put it back on the resting pedal. Which brings me to the second reason. This pedal itself has very good feel, but it's also stiff enough so that when you left foot brake, because normally the left foot is used to pressing the clutch, when you're driving you tend to apply a bit more force than your right foot. And this brake pedal is calibrated so that it's very easy on the left foot to do smooth braking. Like what I'm doing right now, I'm braking with my left foot, very smooth, no jerkiness. And I can drive in the mountain pass the entire time only using my left foot for braking and not my right foot. And that is something, and it comes naturally. I've never driven another car which feels so natural to left foot brake. I must say Porsches are pretty darn good for left foot braking, but this is just easier than a Porsche somehow. Ooh, feisty little engine. Wow, okay. I quite like this engine. I don't miss naturally aspiration in this. That's weird. It just buzzes and wheezes and it makes all kinds of noises. It makes turbo noises, it makes popping noises, and you can hear it all in the back. What a great car. And this is all before I'm starting to push it. In fact, I haven't really even started pushing this car since I started driving it, because I'm waiting for my first impression when we get to Italy. So for the first day and today, I'm just taking it easy, driving it like a relatively old person, and just using it like a road car. And I've got to say, this is a pretty excellent road car so far. So easy to live with. Now about dynamics, see, there's like there's a softness to this. You feel the weight transfer. It's not as scalpel sharp as a GT3, but I don't miss that feeling. I like this relatively boaty feeling in a sports car. It's something that's entirely missing in the modern genre of sports cars. And I'm so glad that this little French company can bring it back. This is what a little sports car should feel like. It shouldn't beat you up. It should be nice to drive. And more importantly, it needs to be predictable. So that we will have to find out much later, once we get to Italy. There is this characteristic of this car that I'm trying to describe. So when you start driving this car, you get this sensation, this feeling that this car loves to corner, and driving in a straight line, you just have this urge of wanting to dive into a corner. I feel the frustration. I feel like this car just wants to do corners after corners after corners. And I can describe that feeling like balancing a ball on a bell curve. It takes effort, but when you corner, that ball is able to fall down and roll down the bell curve, and it feels very natural when you're cornering, almost as if the car is diving into the corners. And all of the great sports cars feel like that when you turn the wheel. The car just dives in, kind of like a jet plane, like a fighter jet. Two of my biggest complaints comes down to visibility. So I don't know if you can see, but the rear windshield is tiny. It's like a letterbox. Makes it a little bit hard to see what's going on behind, but this being the second day of driving this car, I've kind of gotten used to it. But the thing that annoys me the most, which unfortunately there is no sunshine now, I'll show you guys when there's a chance, it's the windshield glare that you get. It is one of the worst that I have ever experienced. All these downhill sections. Not good for the brakes. When there is direct sunlight, it makes it very hard to see out of the car because the reflection from this plastic dashboard is horrendous. It almost blinds you. I should probably talk about the gearbox next. This gearbox is a dual clutch. It's a 7-speed. As you can see, it's on the top gear right now, and driving normally, nothing significant, no complaints. It has the typical dual clutch feeling at low speeds. Sometimes when you're changing from reverse to drive, you get this stutter feeling like the engine might stall. That's normal for these kind of gearboxes. It's nowhere as good as a PDK. It's not as fast, doesn't feel as crisp when you're changing gears. You don't get that snappy feeling, but for the most part I feel like it's not so bad, especially because it's paired to a turbocharged engine, and being turbocharged itself, you lose a lot of that responsiveness. And so having a dual clutch that's not the most crispy gearbox, it doesn't ruin the experience, in my opinion. I feel like this is a relatively good pairing. Now you can see what I'm talking about with this glare situation. It's horrendous. This thing is freaking shining in my eyes. What is this material choice? It's a nice little section coming up. Remember, this is on winter tires. Oh, so nice, this car. There's a delicacy to it. This is something that people are missing in modern cars. This delicacy. Oh. Being mid-engined just means that it's so eager to change direction. It doesn't need to be sharp, but it just feels so happy to turn. You don't need to make the steering hyper reactive like the 992, but having this smooth transition on a road car, I feel like is a quality that people really need to learn from. Car makers really need to learn from. Day 2, beautiful day. Let's go, man. Let's go to the Dolomites. Woo. That's what I came here for. A quite flowy section right here. So what I'm gonna test over here is I'm gonna try driving the car moderately fast, not too fast. So I have a few things that I do want to say. This is a car that because of the chassis tuning, it's a very flowy car. You have to drive it like you're flowing. And because this engine is turbocharged, there is going to be turbo lag, but I feel like it's not taking away from it, because this car is not actually about being precisely sharp and being super hyper reactive. If you have an N8 engine, it'll be more reactive to the throttle. But the chassis and this engine is all a very flowy experience. And the way you drive this car moderately fast is you just gotta stitch the corners together nice and smoothly and just enjoy all the transitions in between. And it becomes a very joyful experience, very therapeutic. Perfect road car, perfect grand tourer for these kind of roads. I mean, it is in the name of the car, the Alpine, the Alpine. I mean, if you want to start pushing, you can, but this car likes going nice and smooth. Makes me curious what the spicier versions of this car will drive like. I kind of think that, you know how we all have that one friend who likes to modify their cars all the time, making it stiffer, making it more powerful, making it corner more flat, and somehow it always ruins the car? I feel like the spicier versions will kind of be like that. Just not done by your friend, but by the factory, by the OEM. I mean, why ruin a perfectly nice recipe? I feel like learning good design is learning restraint, and this might just be a case of that. But I can't say because I have never driven the spicier versions. All right, let's find more roads where we will push the car even more. I'll come back with even more thoughts. It's getting really cold outside. It's 2 degrees outside, and I am completely underdressed. It's gonna be freezing. So one thing I have yet to mention is about the lack of a limited slip differential on this car. And actually it doesn't take away from it, because the chassis balance of this car is so good. If we were to have a limited slip diff on this car, it would actually make it handle a lot twitchier, which takes away from the flowy characteristic of this car, which I think is the most unique thing about this car. There's so much grip, you actually don't need a limited slip diff to cause a sudden oversteer. This engine kind of reminds me of the engine in the Evo. Has the same boosty feeling and this blow-off valve sound. Oh, wonderful chassis balance. So neutral. Look at that. Want to sum up what makes this car so great, and as I've probably mentioned before, it is the chassis. There's nothing in the market when it comes to sports cars that has this kind of flow state type of handling. This car just glides over imperfections. It is the perfect mountain road car. Let me just put it this way. There are many cars that journalists love that I would still pick this car over. For example, there's the GR Yaris. Sure, that car has a more powerful engine, four-wheel drive, rally, homologation special, but that car does not feel anywhere as nimble or just satisfying to drive at all speeds. The way this car handles, the Yaris can only dream of. Even a Boxster, let's say like a 718 Boxster, would I choose this? I would choose this car over a Boxster if it's the 4-cylinder turbo one. Maybe I would still choose this over a GTS, the 4-liter one. But maybe a GT4, that would be tough. But that's a completely different price range, right? People, don't dismiss this car, okay? This is a truly special car. Forget that it's turbocharged. Forget that it's DCT. It doesn't matter because the handling and the road manners, it trumps everything. It really does. When you're so focused on getting the most out of this chassis, I kind of don't need to be shifting manually. I'm so busy on these tight technical roads. So to sum it up, excellent, double thumbs up. Love this car. If you're in the market to buy a sports car, do not dismiss this car. It is such an epic drive, a truly unique experience. And if you do buy it, you have to bring it to these roads. This is where this car belongs. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a nice one. Bye. Yep. No cable car. And I'm parked all the way over there. Fun.